Hello, my friends. Let me talk about functions in Godspeed in very short. So basically, functions or a business logic is triggered when events are triggered via various mechanisms like APIs, message bus, or WebSocket. Then these events, after authentication, authorization, validation passes, and you have a microservice, full stack service, monolith, serverless code. The functions attached to those events are triggered. These functions in turn do your business logic, but they also call various data sources, combine responses, store data in data sources, and return your response finally out here to whosoever called the API. So in Godspeed, following the principle fourth guardrail, which is available in our YouTube channel, all your functions are decoupled from the source where event is captured. For example, this is an HTTP health check event where I'm calling the function health check. So health check can be either a TypeScript function or a JavaScript function. You see, health check. Here is a TypeScript function which takes JS context as input. This has got nothing to do with Express, GraphQL, Fastify, gRPC, SOAP, whatever. This contains the standard inputs.data objects, which contains body, params, query, headers, and user information as plain key value pairs, a JSON object. Okay. Then you have in the functions logging related utilities where you can attach these various attributes within your logs, attributes like these, like what is my task ID, event source type, you can add any custom attributes. Then all the outputs of previous tasks which are executed as part of this event so far are available in outputs object. So you can access output of any previous task which was executed. Then the functions are all the functions loaded within the project in functions folder. They are accessible for you to load and call from here. All the data sources of your project, whether Prisma, Axios, AWS, all of these, Redis, whatever, Elasticsearch are available in data sources, all their clients. You can access the clients there. All your configurations of the project and mappings are JSON key value pairs, which you use in the project for your code, right? In the mappings folder. These are all accessible to you here. Okay. Any of these mappings you use are available there. So this is available in your TypeScript code. You get standard input decoupled from your event source. You return standard output decoupled from your event source. You could return in two ways. This is data, code, success, headers, and message. You could even make it a new GS status. Godspeed, basically, this is a GS status standard. Okay. So here you can even return a GS status. Okay. This is not with a type check. Okay. That was without a type check because it was pure JSON. And as well, if your code is 200, in that case, you can only return data as well. The effect will be same. And if you are not setting headers, you can simply say return and it will set code 200. This is how things work in Godspeed in a decoupled way. This is how you write TypeScript functions. Then there are also YAML functions. Okay, from YAML, it's a series of tasks, which is a Turing complete implementation, means you can implement any kind of business logic in Godspeed. I will show you where it is in documentation, workflows, YAML workflows, workflow DSL. Study the structure of workflows here. They allow you to call inline JavaScript. For example, in this step 2, I am accessing from outputs.sum step 1. Output of this step is being accessed here, and I'm doing something out of it. It allows inline JavaScript. See here also, inline JavaScript is allowed. And along with it, you have all inbuilt workflows, which are form.js transform, return, switch, parallel series, log, if else, with an on error handling as well, a detailed error handling that you can do. So you can write YAML workflows and TypeScript workflows. When you generate your CRUD API in Godspeed, by default, all your functions generated in your CRUD API are in YAML, but as well you can change them to cover, write them in TypeScript as well. See, in this application, you have loan application CRUD in both TypeScript and YAML. YAML was generated by the framework, but then the TypeScript we've written by hand. Okay. This is what we are doing here. I'm getting data sources.prisma DB client. I'm calling the Prisma application API. This is just Prisma. Okay. And I'm returning the GS status. And here the same thing in YAML. I'm calling data source. Okay. I'm using a configuration as an inline. This is a more complex example. Let me simplify. my lending DB, the same name, dot loan application dot create. This is Prisma query. Okay, that's it. And the response will be returned there. So you can write code in both YAML TS. By default, GenCrud API creates YAML workflows. Your YAML can call TS from there. TS can call YAML. For example, here in, let's say, upload document, if we are uploading document to S3. Here's a YAML workflow, apply for loan, which in this particular task is calling los.loan application journey.upload document and is passing as arguments all the inputs it got as a function, right? Then if you go to upload document, here's the upload document file. It got the arguments as context.inputs here. Okay, once you've got the context.inputs.data, I've picked up files because we uploaded files in API itself. These files are to be uploaded to S3. Then I got my data sources and I'm accessing my data sources.aws, which I configured.client of aws.s3. Okay, this is how Godspeed has configured your AWS client. We'll see more in data sources later. Don't worry about how this is working, but just try to understand concept of functions. So I call the AWS S3 API. This is native AWS S3 SDK, which is exposed here, and I return successfully uploaded document, GS status. So this is how you interoperate between various TypeScript YAML functions. And when you write functions in YAML, you do not have type checking and do not fear to learn YAML. It's very simple, very easy thing effectively. Once your hand is set, you will be set. In TypeScript, you will need to write lot of boilerplate, okay? Try catch, retry recursively, then retry on token refresh, so many things, right? But in Godspeed, YAML, you don't need to. You will save lots of boilerplate at many places. For example, if you do caching, okay, here in this functions, here caching. After I create a loan application, I want to cache that data in in-memory cache or a Redis cache. Even this data source, I only need to define when I'm overwriting the default caching data source. The default caching data source is set up in a file somewhere in my project in a default.yaml in memory cache. If I'm changing that to Redis, then I need to overwrite that here. Then this is my key, which is again computed as a JavaScript dynamically. Okay. And this is, if I fail, don't cache. These are Redis options, Redis API supported options. Okay. Then that's it. Then I store it here. And if I am then now deleting a data, right? So after the delete is successful, I need to invalidate the key. It will get invalidated, same key. Then when I'm retrieving this, I'll first, before I call the database, loan application find unique Prisma API, I will first look in the cache. If I don't find in the cache, I will call this, and then after this, I will look into this. And I'll save this response here so that from next time somebody calls this API, they get response from the cache itself. If you write the same thing in TypeScript, you will need lot of if else try, other things to configure. A code will be much bigger. This by Godspeed using YAML functions, your benefit is that you get to focus on the tip of the iceberg, not the whole iceberg, much more. But even when Godspeed TypeScript functions, you're still focusing lot of times only on tip of iceberg. You're still not focusing on rest because, like we discussed, these are pure functions which express input in JSON, you return output in JSON. Okay, so this was about functions in Godspeed. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a question in Discord. Check our documentation. And as well, we are happy to take any suggestions in how to improve our documentation, or if you face any issues, feel free to ask question or create an issue in GitHub. We'll be happy to respond to you there. Thank you very much. I hope this primer was useful for you. For more details, dig in the documentation, ask us questions. Have a lovely day, my friends. Enjoy Godspeed and Godspeed to you, your work, and your life. Thank you very much. Bye bye.